time for our main event, the tail of the tape between Vera and Willie Monroe. Vera is 5 years older, and he's been in more weathering fights, no doubt about it, with what we've seen through the years between these two. As he's now 33 years old, 5'11", 160, 23-8 with 14 knockouts. He's actually coming off a 6-round TKO loss in a non-traditional boxing event. It was big knockout boxing, smaller ring, 2-minute rounds, lost in the 6th round to Gabe Rosado, but 7-7 in his last 14 sanctioned bouts. And he has 2 wins here at Turning Stone in 2013. January 25th, 2013, won by TKO against Sergey Zinzarek, the former middleweight titleist. That was a 10th round TKO. And then in March of 2013, Donatas Bandas was stopped on cuts after the 7th round. So he does have success here coming to Verona, New York. And he is back in the ring now for a good fight at this stage in his career against Willie Monroe. And there is Willie Monroe, who grew up just west of here in Rochester, New York. At 160 pounds, he's now ranked in the BA number 3 and the BO number 6. He's on an 8-fight win streak, and we all remember his road taken through Boxino.
When I win this tournament, it would mean a lot to me, because this is what I've been fighting for since I was 6 years old.
Willie Monroe entered Boxino last year, a hopeful long shot, looking to jumpstart his career. Opening up against hard-hitting Donatas Bandas, Monroe kept him at bay, boxing his way and advancing to meeting the tournament favorite, Vitaly Kapelenko. Again, Monroe used his movement and his wits to outpoint Kapelenko for the upset. In the Boxino final, he faced his good friend, the lightly experienced Brandon Adams. Monroe was clearly better all night long, dominating the fight from start to finish, winning the bout, the belt, and a spot in the world rankings. You know, his opponents in that Boxino tournament, when he won that middleweight title in Boxino, 55 wins against only 4 losses and a draw. Teddy's got the fight plan for us for this main event.
This is the ring where Ali fought Frazier for the first time. Ali stood on the outside using the jab, smoking Joe. Well, he came forward smoking, throwing left hooks. Sound good? Get ready. Monroe, he'll play the part of Ali, and Vera, well, he'll play the part of Joe Frazier, coming forward. Monroe on the outside using the jab, slow him down a little bit. Bang, set a trap, give him a little room, bang. When he walks into that gap, well, set the trap. Close it on him, hit him with the right hand. If Monroe does that, well, like Ali would have said, you're too slow, just too slow. Pretty, but too slow, pretty slow. Pretty slow. Frazier only won 1 out of 3 against Ali, but the good news for Vera, Frazier won the first one. If Vera wants to grab this one, well, we'll see what he has to do. I'll be Vera Monroe. First thing that he has to understand the same thing Monroe understood. Monroe understood where Vera was coming, straight in. Well, Vera has to understand where Monroe's going. It's going straight back. So instead of just walking into that trap, well, fade him. Bang. Make him go too soon. Bang, bang, bang. Then go find him. If he does that, well, he'll finally shut his mouth to make him stay quiet. It's quiet. That's good. That's a victory.
Saul is listening well for the official introductions of our main event. Here's Sweet Baby Ray Flores.
Introducing first, fighting to my right out of the red corner. He comes in wearing cowboy colors, silver with blue trim. His official weight's 160 pounds. His record stands at 23 wins, opposite 8 defeats, 14 wins coming by way of knockouts. Hailing from Austin, Texas, please welcome the challenger, Ryan the Warrior Vera. And his adversary fighting to my left out of the blue corner. He comes in wearing whites with gold trim. His official weight's 160 pounds. His record stands at 18 wins, half a dozen victories coming by way of knockouts against a single blemish. Fighting out of Rochester, New York, he is the NABA and NABO middleweight champion, having won the 2014 Bronzino middleweight tournament, presenting Willie El Mongoose Monroe Jr.
Great support for Willie Monroe Jr. here in upstate New York. Benji Esteves is our referee, scheduled for 10.
What's expected of you. Keep it clean, obey my commands at all times, and most importantly, protect yourself at all times. Touch him up, good luck to both of you.
See, Vera's had slightly more success against the common opponents.
Yeah, one of the more important things is how much success has he had against a southpaw? Vera has 3 wins versus southpaws. Last one was 4 fights ago. That's the good news. The bad news, sorry, I have to bring that too, is that he has also lost to 3 southpaws, and one of his KO losses, yep, it was to a lefty. So not only does Vera have to deal with the legs, the youth, Monroe being 5 years younger, the quickness of Monroe, the jab of Monroe, the ability to change range and give angles of Monroe. He's got to do it with lefty too.
Texan comes here to New York donning the Dallas Cowboys themed trunks.
10.5 months since Vera's been in the ring. That could hurt him a little bit early, a little rust.
Now he's on the inside as Monroe is cupping behind the head and is able to escape back to the center of the ring.
For those people out there that want to have hope for Vera in this fight, well, you know, Monroe only has 1 loss. He could be undefeated. His 1 loss was a split decision, but it was to a 17-17-3 opponent, and he was on the floor in that fight. That's hope.
Lead left hand from the southpaw moments ago. That split the guard.
Everybody, I think, if they've been watching this sport for any period of time, understands that Vera's going to have to get in close if he's going to win the fight. He's not winning on the outside. He's going to have to go to the body to take those legs away, take some of the air out of the tires of Monroe. But for me, most of all, he's got to use the jab. A lot of people might not think about that. They say, hey, that belongs, Teddy, to Monroe. He's the man who's going to own that. Well, Vera's going to have a shot here to get in close and to go to the body and to slow down Monroe. He needs to use that jab to get in. He needs to use that jab in these kind of situations. Like, he didn't use it right there on the outside just to stabilize Monroe, just to keep Monroe from doing what he's doing, picking spots. So if I'm in the corner of Vera, I'm telling him, use that jab. I don't care if it lands, but use it to the chest of Monroe, just to give you a chance to slow him down.
That's where Vera wants to be, right up, squared up, chest to chest. Monroe holding that left arm. Reminder, you can go to the Friday Night Fights Facebook page and score along with Teddy. End of 1 here. Teddy, not often we get a punch of the night brought to you by Just for Men in a losing effort, but Cornelius Whitlock in the 2nd round against Greg Jackson. Now he would be TKO'd in the next round, but that was a heck of a right hand.
Anyway, Jackson deserves a lot of credit. I gave it to him. He doesn't need my credit. He got the win. That's credit enough. But to recover from that punch, not to panic, as you said, but to show those recovery skills and to show that kind of character to come back the next round and get the other guy out of there. The old timers, as I said earlier, would say that's the character of a future champion.
Round 2 here, Vera and Monroe. Monroe trying to box on the outside.
Good
Southpaw trying to continue his run of career success, the 8 straight wins.
Well, Vera's having a better round here very early, and it's because he's using the jab. Needs to use again.
Well, he just gave up position there.
A lot of people will say, oh, you got to go to the body, you got to land some power punches. Obviously, you got to get close if you're Vera. You're the shorter, slower guy. But you have to use that jab if you're going to have a shot in this fight. To give you a chance to take away the jab of Monroe, to have a chance to start landing some of the punches he's starting to land now, and to have a chance just to stabilize Monroe physically and mentally. Take some of that great confidence Monroe has from winning the Boxino tournament.
Vera to the body on the inside.
Yeah, this is where he wants to be, in the kitchen. Where he thinks he can cook up some work. Go to that body, take those legs away later on from Monroe. For me, the question here tonight was, how much did Vera have left? You know, he's got a lot of punches. You know, a lot of mileage on that career, on that record, on that odometer, so to speak. For me, I felt if he's got something left, this is going to be a contested, difficult fight for Monroe.
Took one to give one there.
Vera has lost his last 2. Actually, his last 3 fights. You know, if you look at his record, you only see his last 2 losses to Chavez Jr. Nothing to be really ashamed of. People thought he won the first one, but he's really lost 3 in a row. He was actually knocked out August 16, 5 months ago, by Gabriel Rosado, but it's not on his record because it was in a different kind of tournament. I'll talk about that later.
Teddy, take us through the Corona extra look.
Well, here you see left hand. That's the power hand for the southpaw. A little sloppier than he usually throws it. Usually throws it straight down the middle, but it landed. And again, the power punch for the lefty, Monroe. Why? Well, it's his backhand, the hand that he can turn into. Deliver just a little more oomph. You know, I was talking earlier, the last round, Joe, about Vera. You know, on his record, his official record, it says he's lost the last 2, but was actually knocked out 5 months ago by Gabriel Rosado. But the result's not on his record because it was on a promotional event called Big Time Knockout Boxing. And those matches are not put on the official record because rules are different. They actually fight in a ropeless pit and shorter rounds.
That sounds like a discussion that could be had on your new Sirius XM radio show, Going the Distance. That would be a good call to discuss.
Yeah, it's always
the difference.
Always a little bit difficult when you're fighting in a ropeless pit.
I'm going to call in Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, Channel 92. Get ready for that one. The ropeless pit boxing.
I'll be ready. And right now, Vera's ready to go to the body of Monroe when he has him on the ropes. He doesn't get too many opportunities to get a stationary Monroe. He's got to make the most of those opportunities. And remember again, Vera's coming into this fight one of the worst ways you can really come into a fight, off a knockout loss. A lot more experience in the amateurs for Monroe, 142 fights, only 50 for Vera, but Vera, obviously the much more experienced guy in the pros and has fought the much, much better opposition. He's going to need some of that experience to win this difficult fight. This is what they talk about when they talk about styles make fights difficult. Difficult style for Vera to deal with Monroe. You know, there's one thing Vera can't talk about, or at least complain about, if he winds up losing this fight, that he couldn't get close to Monroe. He's been close several times. He just has to make sure that he does damage when he gets close.
Spots like this right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that time Monroe
caught on the way in.
It was a left hand by Monroe that caught Vera as he was coming forward that time. His best work so far, it comes here towards the end of round 3.
Vera was having a decent round to that power punch. The left hand landed from Monroe. Did this punch win the round for Monroe? Good left hand again. He took advantage of Vera's aggression, allowed Vera to walk right into that left hand. And as I said earlier, the power punch for a southpaw. I had Vera winning that round till that punch. I wind up giving it an even round. That one punch took a lot of good work away from Vera, but he's right back to being allowed to be inside where he wants to be.
You think he's committed to a plan early in round 4 here?
Yeah, go to the body.
Right to that body, right to the inside.
Well, Joe, you can't go to the body unless you're allowed to get close, and he's being allowed for some reason by Monroe to get close.
There's CompuBox numbers, the total punches thrown. As Vera's thrown 175 to Monroe's 141.
You know, you don't need the late, great Angelo Dundee, or you don't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that if you're Monroe, one of the places you shouldn't be stuck in is on the ropes in this fight. And he's been stuck there a couple times. That's where he's at his best, Monroe, where there's a little space and where he can catch Vera with that space on the way in. This is a really good-looking round of action here. You're seeing the best of both guys. Vera on the inside and Monroe with opportunities when there is space and Vera comes in. Let's see how it's being scored right now as Teddy has it 30-28. Talked about that third round being difficult to score. Teddy puts it even. Facebook has it 3 rounds to zip for Monroe. Remember, you can go to the Friday Night Fight Facebook page and click on live scoring. You know, this is set up exactly the way we talked about it. The stylistic difference here in this main event. It's enjoyable. Good style matchup for the fans. Again, the slugger, the pressure man against the counterpuncher, the boxer. And that's some good countering there with a short right hook from the southpaw Monroe. That can be a dangerous punch, that right hook. That's the punch the orthodox fighter, in this case Vera, has trouble seeing. Coming from that angle, Joe.
Trying to turn over that right hook, too, as he steps forward now. First minute of this round looked like Vera. Final minute is shaping up like Monroe.
And once again, whenever there's space, Monroe uses that space to his advantage to let those hands go. I think Monroe visited a real estate agent before this fight, and he talked about charging punches, charging money for real estate. He's charging punches for every foot that Vera tries to come in. Some of the action from the last round, you see the left hand, again, the power hand for the southpaw, and then you see the power hand for the orthodox fighter, Vera, the right hand. And that's the hand that maybe Vera's going to need now to turn this fight back in his direction, because that's the punch that a lot of boxing people call the southpaw killer. The right hand works against lefties.
Joe and Teddy with you ringside here at Turning Stone in upstate New York, where Willie Monroe and Brian Vera have both had past success, and now they meet up here.
You know, it hasn't been an issue so far, but Vera, you look at him, if you get a close-up look at him, he's got scar tissue over his left eye.
Very noticeable.
Yeah, been cut over that left eye 4 times in different fights.
They grease him before he comes into the ring. You can see it on his face the moment he steps in before the announcements.
And he has been involved in head clashes. So is Monroe. Matter of fact, Monroe was cut over his left eye 2 fights ago from a head clash. No head clash tonight if Monroe fights his fight, stays off the rope, and uses his superior jab and speed on the outside. So easy to talk about the quicker hands of Monroe, you know, when he lets them go on the outside, Joe. But it's also the quicker feet of Monroe that gives Vera so many problems.
Vera off balance that time. Benjy Esteves is going to rule that a knockdown. He's going to say his glove touched. He was off balance. The glove went down towards the canvas, and it's being ruled a knockdown.
Well, what's setting up these punches for Monroe is what I alluded to earlier, the legs, the quick legs. Keeping Vera off balance and giving opportunities to Monroe to do that.
Now he is hurt. He's off balance from a punch from Monroe that time.
Yeah, but his legs got him in position to land those left hands.
Willie Monroe with a sweeping attack as Vera tries to fire back.
You wonder how much Vera, who's taken a lot of punches in his career, how much he has left. Monroe is trying to find out. Monroe's a much better fighter than he was even a year ago.
No doubt about that.
That Boxino tournament gave him the one thing he needed. He knew how to fight, but he needed confidence. He has that now.
He has blossomed and emerged. Strong round from... Watch the glove on Brian Vera after this punch here. Right there. And that was ruled a knockdown. And then later, Monroe actually did some more damage that was more significant. Not just a glove hitting the canvas, was scoring well, Teddy.
Yeah, later really is when he got hurt a little bit, stunned a little bit. Early, I can understand Vera being upset about the knockdown call because he was more off balance, quite honestly, than he was hurt. He got hurt while he was standing later on in the round.
The work in the final minute was strong by Monroe. The work in the first minute was fortunate that Vera was off balance. But a knockdown scored.
You know, even though Monroe, it's not his thing, so to speak, to be on the inside, he can do enough on the inside just to keep Vera honest. He throws short punches on the inside. He's defensively conscious and responsible on the inside. Vera throws little wider punches on the inside. Monroe, even though he shouldn't lay there, he can be successful there because he does throw the shorter shots and does know how to keep his head out of harm's way. So in other words, tough night for Vera, because you know you can't win on the outside, you got to win on the inside. And as I just said, you got a guy in Monroe who could at least, when he needs to, get something done also inside. One guy staying outside. Monroe, another man. Vera, a mission to try to get inside, but not just get inside without taking punishment or too much punishment. I think Monroe's looking to switch it up. You know, the left hand was a big weapon for him first few rounds, the power punch for the southpaw, but now I think Monroe's thinking, maybe I can connect with that right hook. Again, the punch that an orthodox fighter, well, he's just not used to seeing it come from the angle it comes. I'm looking In my mind, Monroe's looking to set up something upstairs. He threw a nice left hand downstairs a moment ago. I'm wondering if he's going to now go upstairs, maybe with a right hook.
Something to look for. Landed a right hand there as we come to the end of round number 6 on Friday Night Fights. Look Like a Champ brought to you by Just for Men. A recap of our first 2 fights of the night when Greg Jackson scored a 3rd round TKO after being down himself in the 2nd round over Cornelius Whitlock. And then Brandon Adams against Lacan Byfeld. He scored 3 knockdowns, a 2nd round knockout for Adams, who lost to Willie Monroe in last year's middleweight Boxino finals. Start of round number 7, scheduled for 10. Been a good fight so far. More on Willie Monroe's terms the last few rounds. Scored a knockdown in the 5th, had great success in the final minute there. Countered well in the 4th as well. Let's follow along with the way the scoring is from Teddy to you, the fan at home. The way Teddy sees it here ringside is 60-54 for Willie Monroe. Fans have it 5 rounds to 1. Obviously that 5th round 100% voting for Monroe with the knockdown scored and the efforts in that final minute.
You still need that jab. If you're Vera, even though you're behind the 8 ball, you're feeling the pressure of having to land a big shot, you know, to catch up. But you still, if you're going to land that big shot, you still help yourself by using the jab as the delivery system.
Well, there's the way CompuBox has tallied the jabs. 163 Monroe, 85 thrown for Vera.
Now, a lot of people want to land a big shot. But the question is, how do you do it? It's got to be attached to the proper, as I said a moment ago, delivery system. You can't just wing them. You just wing them, you leave yourself open even more. You need the jab to set him up. And there's that right hook from the southpaw Monroe I was talking about that I think he's starting to look for a little bit.
And now he pops a left hand straight down the chute.
And now he's taking advantage of really a little bit of the cement in the feet of Vera. Just moving around where he wants to, keeping Vera off balance. Vera needs to be set to punch. Monroe understands that. Little movement does not allow Vera to get set. It keeps Vera turning off balance, and it sets him up for big punches.
Off balance and an easy target that time for Willie Monroe, who continues to gather more and more momentum.
They're having a lot of problems this fight, this round. One of the things he's doing wrong this round, not cutting the ring down, just following Monroe around, letting Monroe do this.
3 rounds to go.
Take a look at some of this action here. There's the right hook from Monroe, and then you're going to see the left hand. Southpaws love those left hands. And then just some combination and just quicker hands and quicker feet, as we said early, displayed by Monroe.
Controlling the outside.
You wonder if Monroe's starting to go into a little bit, you know, you got the NFL playoffs Sunday. You wonder if he's starting to go into a little prevent defense, Joe. I mean, it wouldn't be something extraordinary for him and his corner to think about, because they know they have a lot of rounds in the bank.
You know I can't resist. It's that time of the year. I do this to you every year. Quickly, AFC, NFC prediction. Teddy Atlas, go.
A big upset. I know you want that. I want to make you happy. Colts. going to beat the New England Patriots. Luck is going to step up and show it's his time, not Brady time. And then the other guy, well, the other game is going to say Seattle gets it done against an injured Rodgers. But it's going to be interesting.
Such a tough place to play.
I see people running to their phones, calling their bookies.
Well, they want that money line in Indy. Monroe doing a nice job. Just puts that right hand there and then gets out the side door.
Tell you what we'll be talking about next year, though.
What's that?
About the Oakland Raiders in the playoffs.
Optimism running high in your family.
A little better round for Vera. Now, how much is it what Vera did and how much what Monroe's not doing? Monroe, again, taking a little break. But Vera, no jab. And I know people at home are going to say, yeah, Teddy, he doesn't move his head either. I know, but if he used that jab a little more, he would stop some of this pot shotting. That.
Well, his pot shotting's having a lot of success down the stretch run of this 8th round.
Yes, it is. Again, no jab from Vera and no reason for Monroe to have to not pot shot or to worry about pot shotting because there's nothing coming at him. So I like to say, you got to put bugs on that windshield. If you're fighting a guy like Monroe, you got to give him something to think about, something to blur his vision. Nothing blurring the vision of Monroe.
Instead, it's just the opposite. It's Willie Monroe with that southpaw jab, snapping it out against Vera. Stay with us. Willie Monroe in control here against Brian Vera. Start of a boxing weekend when we will see Stavern and Wilder fight for a heavyweight title. Speaking of Deontay Wilder, Teddy, a story that I followed recently, but there was an incorrigible social media gadfly all over Deontay Wilder, a guy just pestering him for a year. It went so far that Wilder invited this guy down to the gym to be dealt with. And there's video online that's unbelievable to see where Wilder, a guy puts on the gloves and Wilder beats him right in the middle of the gym, not in the ring, basically almost an assault in the middle of the gym. I couldn't believe what I was seeing with a professional fighter.
Yeah, really disturbing. I mean, according to Wilder, he said this guy said things about his family, his daughter, and obviously that's wrong. That's a disgrace that there's people out there, sick people out there that who do that on the internet and they hide like cowards, but that's what it is. They are there. And they do it to players in the NBA and the Major League Baseball and the NFL too, Joe. But a linebacker for the Chicago Bears is not challenging some punk to come to the stadium so he can suit up with him and drill him. I mean, that's not happening. So they ignore it. Unfortunately, it's sometimes part of being a public figure. People said horrible things to Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, even Klitschko. But they don't go to a gym and beat the crap out of them. They were better than that. They knew what it took to behave like a champion. There's supposed to be more to being a champion than just knowing how to fight. At least there used to be. Wilder better learn that.
It's a very interesting story, and the video is online, but Wilder is going to need all the fight he can have against Stavern tomorrow night for that heavyweight belt, as Vera's looking for the answer here against Monroe on the inside. Sticking out that southpaw jab. And faster hands of Monroe able to touch Vera. Able to continue that movement on the outside is Willie Monroe.
Again, more of the same. You know, I mean, he's in there trying all night, but only one side winning. And that side, the side of Monroe.
10th and final round coming your way. Stay with us. Willie Monroe. Great uncle is Willie the Worm Monroe, the 70s middleweight contender who handed Marvelous Marvin Hagler his second pro loss. Well, his dad was a middleweight as well, here in front of his home fans in upstate New York. 10th and final round against the rugged veteran Brian Vera.
So the question is, how do you get a knockout, or at least close to it? I guess, how do you get Monroe on the floor when you need to get him on the floor and you're in the last round? I guess one way is the way that usually works against southpaws. We alluded to it early. Right hands. But the problem is, how do you land the right hand on a guy who's like an eel? Guy who's as slippery.
It's a good descriptive for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. As slippery as Monroe is. I think what you got to do is you have to have some trickery. You got to go downstairs with the right hand to the body. And then maybe the next time you bend like you're going to go downstairs and you go upstairs. Catch his line of vision a little cockeyed, a little off, where he's expecting something down and something comes up. That's how Stavern dropped Areola in his big win against Areola in his first fight, the fight that really brought Stavern to the public eye.
Fight that we broadcast out in LA. Do you have a quick prediction on Stavern Wilder?
Yeah, 1 round knockout, Wilder knocks him out.
Say that again.
1 round knockout, maybe 2, Wilder knocks him out. Right hand. I don't think Wilder's great, but he does punch awfully good with the right hand. And Stavern has been knocked out once in his career.
What can you get me down on for a Colts Deontay Wilder under knockout parlay?
We'll talk about that later. I just think that Wilder, with his reach and his height, can catch Stavern first, because Stavern will be looking for the counter, and he'll never get a chance because he'll be on the outside.
Final minute here, as Monroe's going to try to bring this one home.
Yeah, when there's space, there's punches, quick punches from Monroe.
Lead lefts towards the second half of this fight.
And again, no cutting the ring down by Vera.
Not at all.
Following him around.
Chasing him.
If linebackers do that Sunday in a football game, there'll be a lot of halfbacks and fullbacks running up and down the field.
Now letting his hands go a bit. Vera's got to cash a lottery ticket at this point. Looks like good work right to the end for Willie Monroe.
Yeah, he's grown as a fighter. His confidence really has grown right in front of us.
Came in on an 8-fight win streak. Get ready to celebrate 9. We will hear from the judges when we return to Friday Night Fights.
Back with you here in studio for one final time before we go back to Verona for the official decision. I want to remind you that SportsCenter is coming up next with Jay Harris and Jonathan Coachman. As for us here at Friday Night Fights, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We head to the Foxwoods Resort and Casino as Tony Lewis, 18-2 record out of Cornwall, Ontario, takes on a very talented up-and-comer, undefeated Carl Dargan. He's nicknamed the Dynamite out of Philadelphia. It's January 30th, 9 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2. Back to Teddy and Joe now for our official decision.
ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, who invite you to find your beach. And in part by Rent-A-Center. Imagine payments that fit your life. Imagine new possibilities at Rent-A-Center. Good action throughout with these styles matching up. Vera and Monroe. Monroe took control somewhere around round 4, had the knockdown in round 5. And according to Teddy Atlas, has an easy win on his scorecard. 100-90, the 10-8 fifth, the even round third. Facebook, our viewers at home, 9 rounds to 1 for Willie Monroe. As for the official judges, we go up to the ring to Sweet Baby Ray Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Here are your score totals. Judge John McKay has the bout 98-91. Judge Glenn Feldman scores the contest 97-92. And Judge Tom Schreck has it 99-90. All for your winner by unanimous decision. And still the NABA and NABO middleweight champion, Willie Monroe Jr.
Family and friends from nearby Rochester, New York, celebrating here at Turning Stone as Willie Monroe, now 19-1 in his career, as Vera suffers the 9th loss of his career. He's been in tough throughout. Good work from Monroe throughout, especially the second half of that fight. Let's go up to the ring to Bernardo.
Thank you, Joe. And Willie, you said everyone had labeled you a slick boxer, but you proved tonight there's more to your game, especially in that round 5.
I'm just blessed. We worked, you know, we came into the Boxino tournament, we were really a 54, but I got with my strength and conditioning coach, Lee Davis, out of Rochester. We said, look, we're going to fight at middleweight, we're rated, let's go ahead and put on a little bit more extra pounds, a little more muscle so we can stand and bang with the big boys, and that's what we did tonight.
Brian Vera, no doubt, is a gatekeeper for a lot of future world champions. Right. Do you see yourself as a contender at 160 pounds?
I definitely do, but time will tell. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not one of them arrogant cats to talk. I just take it a fight at a time, one round at a time, brick by brick, we burying them, baby.
Boxino champion, he gets another win on his docket. Movie star now. We'll see what's next for this young man, Willie Monroe Jr. Back to you. Unanimous
decision win for Willie Monroe Jr. He has won 9 fights in a row since his only loss back in March 2011. We're back in 2 weeks with another Friday Night Fights. For Teddy, Bernardo, and Todd, I'm Joe Tessitore. Enjoy the rest of your night, including SportsCenter right now.